Have you ever noticed that there are certain signals we send out, especially as we get older, that are, well, they're totally invisible to us,
Oh, absolutely.
but to everyone else, they're just glaringly obvious?
It's that universal moment of self-doubt, isn't it? You see it happening.
You do. Maybe you're watching a colleague or a family member and you realize that one thing just subtly changes the whole interaction.
And you think, is that me? Am I doing that? Because we all want to age with dignity. We want to feel relevant.
Of course.
But the body and the brain, they have these incredibly quiet ways of shifting how we present ourselves.
And the really tricky part is that society isn't going to give you that feedback.
Not a chance. People are simply too polite or maybe too afraid of causing offense to tell you the truth about a slightly disheveled appearance
Or you're telling the same story again.
or that your voice is just a little bit too loud for the room. They don't say anything.
Exactly. And that silence is where the real cost is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if you're not aware of these little shifts, you could be unknowingly, eroding your own social presence.
That's a great way to put it. You're eroding your confidence, the quality of your relationships. These small habits, they quietly change how people approach you,
How they listen to you.
how they listen, how close they stand to you even. It affects the vitality they perceive you have. The stakes are, they're incredibly high. We're talking about self-determination, about dignity.
Right. And that is precisely our mission for this deep dive. We've gone through the research, the psychological insights, all the sources to lift the curtain on what we're calling the 6 silent signs of aging.
And these are habits that older adults, for the most part, rarely see in themselves, but everyone around them,
They see them immediately.
instantly.
So this deep dive is all about delivering immediate, actionable knowledge. It's essential wisdom if you're navigating your golden years right now, and you want to make sure your external presence really matches your internal strength.
But it's also, I think, just as powerful for younger people, to prepare for the future, but also to get a deeper, more empathetic understanding of their parents, their grandparents.
100%. The goal here is to move forward with strength, dignity, and maybe most importantly, with a kind of radical self-awareness.
Exactly. We're going to explore not just the behaviors themselves, but the neurological and the psychological why behind them.
Believe it or not, 100% fixable.
It's true. Once you recognize these shifts, you get control. You get to control your own narrative again.
Okay, let's unpack this. Segment 1, neglecting personal grooming. This feels like the first, most subtle clue that maybe awareness is slipping.
It is, and it has such an outsized impact on how people perceive you instantly.
Right, so what are we talking about specifically?
Well, we need to clarify this up front. This isn't about vanity. It's not about chasing youth.
No.
It's about the cumulative effect of small, easily neglected details. Things like untrimmed fingernails or hair that starts growing unevenly.
The dreaded ear hair.
The ear hair, the overgrown eyebrows, that sort of thing.
Oh.
Or wrinkled clothes that are just a little bit worn out past their expiration date. And even, dry, flaky skin.
And individually, any one of those things seems so minor, right? A single wrinkle in a shirt doesn't matter.
Who cares?
But when you put them all together, it creates this profound, immediate visual effect.
It does. And the key insight here, the thing to really hold on to, is that these details don't make a person old,
Right.
but they can make them appear older or more tired or maybe less engaged with the world than they actually feel on the inside. It's a huge communication gap.
So why does this happen? Why do sharp, capable people let these things slide?
It comes down to a fascinating psychological phenomenon that, we call it the habituation effect.
Okay, break that down.
Our brains are unbelievably efficient. They're pattern recognition machines, constantly filtering out stimuli that are constant just to save energy.
Like the hum of a refrigerator in your kitchen. You stop hearing it after a while.
You literally don't hear it. Or the scent of your own home. You don't notice it until you've been away for a week. Your brain just edits it out.
So if you're looking in the mirror every single morning, your brain is doing the same thing. It's filtering out the slow, almost imperceptible creep of an overgrown eyebrow.
Precisely. You stop registering those gradual changes because to your brain, they're just constant background noise.
It's seen this face every day for 80 years.
And it says, okay, got it. I'm going to focus my resources on new information, potential threats. So that self-awareness of your own appearance, It slowly, and I mean insidiously, diminishes.
So you're seeing yourself as you were yesterday or last month?
Not as you are today, and certainly not how others see you, which is the accumulated result of 3 or 4 months of that slow creeping change.
That makes so much sense. We've got this internal story of who we are, vibrant, engaged, but the outside world gets the unfiltered version.
Right, they see the accumulation, and
Yeah.
it's so critical because it messes with your cognitive feedback loop.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we know from studies in neuroscience that the simple act of grooming, shaving, doing your hair, picking out a nice outfit, it's not just for looks.
It's an internal investment.
It's an internal investment. It links directly to the production of dopamine. When you put conscious effort into how you present yourself, you feel better. You feel more alert, more confident.
So grooming is a cognitive boost.
It absolutely is. It increases your energy, your alertness. So when that routine starts to fade, so does that little daily injection of dopamine you were giving yourself.
So the lack of grooming doesn't just make you look tired. It can actually make you feel tired because you've taken away a source of neurological self-stimulation.
Exactly. You've removed a ritual of self-affirmation. And this is perfectly shown in the story of Walter, an 82-year-old from Columbus, Ohio.
Right.
Walter was, by all accounts, mentally sharp. He was involved in his community, loved his family, but his physical presence had just started to fade into the background.
Tell us a bit more about Walter's story.
He was a man who, he used to take great pride in how he looked, especially for things like Sunday gatherings. But over the years, he just defaulted to comfort.
We all do, to some extent.
We all do. But for him, overgrown eyebrows became the norm. His hair, instead of being neatly trimmed, got this kind of shaggy, unmanaged look that just instantly aged him.
In his clothes.
His wardrobe basically shrunk to about 3 comfortable, familiar, maybe slightly stained button-down shirts that everyone, including him, had seen 100 times.
And because of that habituation effect, Walter probably looked in the mirror and just saw Walter, the sharp guy he'd always been.
That's right. He saw the idea of himself, but the external message being sent was different. It was, Walter is comfortable, but he's maybe winding down.
And did he notice people treating him differently?
He did. He started noticing these subtle shifts. Less direct eye contact from people, shorter greetings, sometimes a tone that was a little condescending.
Oh, that's tough.
And he internalized it. He thought, people must think I'm getting slow. But in reality, they were just reacting to the visible lack of engagement with his own presentation.
So what was the turning point? What broke him out of that cycle?
It was a comment from a friend, a gentle one. The friend didn't mention his grooming, but said, Walter, you seem a little down lately.
Oh.
And Walter denied it, of course, but the comment stuck with him. So he decided, almost on a whim, to get a professional haircut and a proper shave. And he bought one new, crisp, well-fitting shirt.
Simple change.
A simple change, but the result was, it was profound. The change wasn't just on the outside, it was internal. He said he felt the weight of the messy hair and the old clothes just lift off him.
You felt younger.
He felt younger because, and this is his phrase, he rediscovered his presence. He walked into a room differently because he knew he looked put together.
And people responded.
Immediately. Not just with compliments, but by talking to him again. Seeking his opinion, treating him with that immediate baseline respect. The simple changes just closed that gap between his internal vitality and what he was communicating to the world.
That is such a powerful lesson. Grooming isn't vanity. It's an identity guardrail.
Oh, guardrail, I love that.
So if you're listening, maybe a practical tip is to just set a recurring calendar reminder every 6 weeks for those small, annoying tasks, ear hair, eyebrows, a proper haircut, just to beat that habituation effect.
Absolutely. Defeat the filter with a ritual.
Okay, let's move on. Segment 2. This one is, well, it's even more sensitive because it hits one of the most fundamental things we do, conversation.
Yeah.
We're talking about speaking too loudly or interrupting.
Yes. And this one carries massive and almost always unintended social cost.
Right. We have to frame this very carefully.
We do. When an older person speaks more loudly or seems impatient when they're talking, it is almost never an intentional act of rudeness. It's not about dominating the conversation.
It's a functional issue.
It's a functional deficit, almost always. It's a response to compromised sensory input.
And that deficit is, of course, gradual hearing loss. Can you explain a bit more about how hearing loss actually affects how we modulate our own voice?
Sure. The main challenge is that age-related hearing loss, the technical term is presbycusis, it tends to hit the high frequencies first.
Okay, the higher sounds.
Right. And those high frequencies are what give our language its crispness, its definition. Think about consonants like S or T. But critically, they're also part of the feedback loop your brain uses to monitor your own volume and pitch.
So if you can't hear yourself clearly over the noise in a room,
Your brain's solution is simple. Speak louder. It's trying to get that auditory confirmation that your own speech is actually landing.
and this is where that specific psychological term comes in, right? Compensatory vocal projection.
Yes, it's a great term. The speaker isn't trying to overwhelm you. They're subconsciously trying to compensate for what their brain perceives as an auditory deficit. They're just trying to be sure they're being heard.
But the person on the receiving end, they might misinterpret that as aggression.
Or impatience. Or irritation. Or that you just don't care what they have to say.
But what if? What if the person's just always been a loud talker?
Yeah.
How can you tell the difference between this auditory compensation and just, poor social skills?
That's a great question. You have to look for a pattern change. If someone's been booming their whole life, that's just their style.
Right.
But if they've gotten progressively louder over the last 5 or 10 years, or if they only get really loud in places with moderate background noise like a restaurant, that points strongly towards a hearing issue.
And what about interruptions? That's the other part of this.
Interruptions are key. Hearing loss makes conversational timing incredibly difficult.
Why is that?
It's about the lag in auditory processing. If it takes your brain an extra fraction of a second to process that the other person has finished their sentence,
By the time you realize they're done, someone else has already jumped in.
exactly, the conversational window has closed. So to participate, you have to start speaking just before they're completely finished, just to make sure you can grab the floor. To the speaker, it feels like they're just trying desperately to keep up.
Wow. So the perception gap is just massive. The speaker thinks they're being diligent and participating, but the listener feels like they're being steamrolled,
And they take a step back physically and emotionally.
which creates this awful negative feedback loop.
A terrible one. The listener retreats, which makes the conversational distance wider. So the speaker, feeling isolated, might lean in more aggressively or speak even louder to bridge that gap.
Which just confirms the listener's initial feeling that they're overbearing.
Precisely.
So let's talk about George, 77 from Florida. His story really illustrates this. He loved being the center of attention at family gatherings, but he started noticing this physical shift.
He did. George noticed that when he was telling a story or giving an opinion, people were literally physically recoiling, just subtly shifting their chairs back or nodding from further away.
And how did he interpret that?
He thought, they're bored with me, or I must be saying the wrong things. He got anxious about it, which of course made him double down on the volume and interrupt even more out of this kind of conversational panic.
And he had no idea that his voice, which sounded totally normal to him, was just booming across the living room.
None at all. The intervention here was so important, a loved one suggested he get a hearing check.
Not because he seemed deaf.
But because his social interactions were suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And George, like a lot of people, resisted at first. He thought hearing aids were for people who couldn't hear the phone ring.
So what did the check show?
It showed significant high frequency loss. And once he was fitted with aids, it was like the world suddenly had proper volume control again. More importantly, he could hear the subtleties of his own voice in real time.
He realized how much he'd been projecting.
Instantly. And the shift in his behavior was immediate. He didn't need the compensatory projection anymore. He became mindful of pausing, consciously listening, because he knew the aids were helping him catch those little conversational cues.
And the dynamic with his family reversed.
Completely. Instead of people stepping back from him, they started leaning in closer. They didn't have to defend themselves against his volume anymore. They could just connect with his content.
That's so profound. The social fix depends on the medical fix. The takeaway isn't just try to be quieter.
No, it's get your hearing checked every 1 to 2 years. It's one of the best investments you can make in your social vitality.
If you want people to lean in, you have to have the sensory awareness to manage your own voice.
And that awareness of the processing lag can help with the interrupting. Just consciously count to 1 before you respond. It makes a world of difference.
Okay, fantastic. So moving from auditory signals to visual ones, segment 3 tackles something that, while it seems superficial, really sets the stage for every social interaction: wearing outdated or ill-fitting clothes.
This is such a powerful nonverbal statement. I mean, clothes are not the essence of who you are,
So of course not.
but they are the packaging of your identity. They're a critical form of instant communication. They tell the world, before you even open your mouth, about your energy level, your engagement with the present.
And we know this communication happens fast. The research on first impressions is almost scary.
It is. The studies all confirm it. People form these sophisticated first impressions in less than 7 seconds.
7 seconds.
And those judgments are heavily, heavily weighted toward 2 things: grooming and clothing. So whether it's fair or not, what you're wearing is setting the stage for every single interaction you have.
So what's the specific problem with that, comfortable wardrobe that a lot of older adults default to? The oversized sweaters, the shapeless khakis, the clothes that are 20 years past their prime.
The issue is the subliminal message. That kind of clothing communicates a retreat into comfort over presence. It suggests low energy, low engagement with the current world.
Fading vitality.
Fading vitality, exactly. The clothes are basically saying, I've given up on the external fight. I'm just focused on my own internal ease now.
And the unfortunate subconscious interpretation from other people is that this person has stopped caring about external signals. And that can translate into seeing them as less dynamic or less relevant.
It's identity erosion by way of polyester. And it's not about being stylish or trendy. It's about fit and condition. A piece of clothing that fits poorly or is a bit pilled or frayed, it just sends a signal of neglect.
Which brings us to Harold, 80 years old, a retired engineer from Michigan. He was a textbook case of this.
He was. Harold was brilliant. I mean, he could still troubleshoot complex machinery in his head, but externally, he had just stopped paying attention to his visual impact.
What was his uniform?
His uniform was clothes from 20, maybe 30 years ago. Ill-fitting, slightly faded, purely utilitarian. And here's the key. He genuinely felt fine in them. They were comfortable, they worked. Internally, he felt as sharp as ever.
But the clothes told the world, I am static. I am from another time.
Right. It created this huge misalignment between his inner reality and his external projection.
And how did that show up for him socially?
He started noticing that younger family members, while always respectful, would often talk around him. They'd discuss current events or new technology as if he couldn't possibly have anything to contribute.
And when he did contribute,
his words seemed to land softer, as if they were coming from some historical observer rather than an active participant in the conversation. His clothes were acting as a cognitive filter for his ideas.
Wow. So what was the intervention from?
His daughter gently stepped in and took him shopping. And they weren't trying for a total fashion overhaul. They just focused on simple upgrades.
Like what?
A crisp, modern fit, button-up shirt, not trendy, just well-tailored, and a pair of pants that actually fit his waist and his leg length instead of being baggy. Just subtle changes, but they made the clothing look purposeful and current.
And the social reaction was immediate.
Oh, it was dramatic. The quotes from his family were things like, "You look amazing," or "You look 10 years younger." But the most telling comment was, "You look alive."
You look alive. That says it all.
It does. The clothes didn't change his age or his knowledge, but they instantly changed the frame through which people saw him. It allowed his dignity, his engagement to shine through without the static of decades-old fabric getting in the way.
So it's about letting your clothing reflect your confidence in the present moment, not just some historical comfort zone.
That's it, perfectly.
So the takeaway for you listening isn't to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe. It's to just audit the top 5 pieces you wear most often. If they're ill-fitting or stained or just plain tired, replace them with modern fit basics.
It's all about investing in fit and condition. That's the whole game.
Absolutely. Okay, let's transition from external presentation to, internal processing. This brings us to segment 4. Complaining or criticizing too much. This one is tough because it often masks a real attempt to process discomfort.
It's the unintentional sting. And we have to acknowledge this often starts not as pure negativity, but as a way to find stability, to process genuine frustration with a world that's changing really fast.
But when it becomes the main way you communicate,
it just drives people away.
So let's get into the brain science here. We mentioned the amygdala. How does its function shift as we age?
The amygdala is our emotional command center. It processes emotions, detects threats, and it really, really likes familiarity. As we get older and the world changes more rapidly around us, the amygdala can become hypersensitive to those changes, to perceived threats to our stability.
So it's not a sign of weakness?
Not at all. It's an evolutionary stability-seeking mechanism kicking into overdrive. The brain is basically saying, whoa, things are moving too fast. Let's focus on what's wrong, because that signals a potential threat to my security and comfort.
So because prices are rising, or traffic is getting worse, or technology is evolving, the brain defaults to commenting on those negative things as a way to manage its own anxiety.
Precisely. And this shows up as that constant comparison, complaining about prices, criticizing younger generations, constantly comparing then versus now.
Dwelling on how things used to be cheaper or easier or better.
It's an intellectual resistance to change, and it gets expressed as social commentary.
So where's the line? What's the difference between healthy processing of real-world frustrations and behavior that's socially damaging?
That is the critical distinction. The line is crossed when the negative commentary is the only thing the person offers. When every single conversation gets filtered through this lens of what's wrong or what has declined.
It becomes emotionally draining for the listener.
It's exhausting. While the older person is genuinely trying to process their internal discomfort, the listener just feels burdened. And unconsciously, they start to avoid the source of that emotional drain.
But let me push back on that a little. What if the traffic is genuinely worse? What if prices are out of control? I mean, how do we distinguish legitimate commentary on real hardship from this detrimental negativity?
Yeah, that's the nuance we have to grasp. Legitimate processing is stating a fact and then either looking for a solution or moving on.
Okay.
Detrimental negativity dwells on the fact. It doesn't offer a solution. It uses the problem as an anchor point for continuous negative emotional output.
Yeah.
So saying traffic is terrible today is a fact.
Right.
Following that with a 5-minute monologue about how drivers are all reckless now and gas prices are a crime and everything was better in 1978, that's when it becomes detrimental. The key is balance and proportionality.
And we see the cost of that imbalance in the story of Roger, who was 75. His grandson gave him that absolutely devastating piece of feedback.
He did. Roger was just floored by the question. His grandson asked him, "Grandpa, do you like anything anymore?"
That's a gut punch.
It stopped him cold. Roger realized he was so busy articulating his resistance to change, complaining about the cost of living, the noise, the state of the world, that he had completely stopped communicating appreciation or curiosity or joy.
He was trying to broadcast his frustration. But his grandson was just receiving a signal of pervasive unhappiness.
Exactly. Roger realized he was pushing away the very people he loved by prioritizing the output of his own discomfort. He had to make a conscious shift.
To balance the concerns with appreciation.
And with curiosity about the present moment, he started asking his grandson genuine questions about his life, his passions, instead of immediately finding fault with them.
And when he made that conscious shift,
People started gravitating toward him again. He became a source of wisdom that was grounded in experience, but also tempered with warmth and interest. He proved you can process your discomfort, but you have to actively choose to balance it with positive energy.
it's an active mental discipline.
It really is.
So the actionable takeaway here isn't stop complaining. It's more like actively replace some of that negative commentary with statements of gratitude, or even better, with genuine curiosity.
Treat curiosity as the antidote to complaint. When you feel that impulse to criticize, try asking a question instead. Engage with the present instead of retreating to the past.
That is a perfect transition into segment 5, moving from internal emotions to external nonverbal communication. Posture and body language.
Posture it might be the most powerful and immediate form of self-expression there is. People read your body before they ever hear your voice.
It's the immediate barometer of perceived vitality.
It is. We're talking about the visible signs: slouching, shuffling, arms crossed, just generally looking compressed.
And we have to stress, this isn't always a choice. It's not a sign of apathy, it's often biomechanical.
That is so crucial. The physical causes of poor posture are often rooted in real age-related changes. The slow tightening of some muscle groups, the onset of arthritis, spinal compression. These things literally make it harder, sometimes painful, to stand up straight.
So the person on the inside might feel strong and capable, but their physical presentation is signaling frailty.
Exactly. But regardless of the internal truth, the perception problem is profound. If you look physically compressed, rounded shoulders, head down, a tentative walk, what does that communicate instantly to a stranger?
It communicates fragility, vulnerability, a lack of assertive presence.
Yes. And when people perceive fragility, they often approach with sympathy or caution, not with immediate baseline respect.
They might speak louder, or slow down, or treat you like you're delicate.
And that lack of respect, even if it's well-intentioned, is a powerful form of identity erosion. It slowly teaches you that you are fragile, even if you don't feel that way inside.
Let's talk about Eleanor, 83, from Seattle. She felt strong, but people were constantly treating her like she was fragile, and she couldn't figure out why.
Eleanor was mentally sharp, she was active, independent, but she noticed that in stores, strangers would often just bypass her. Or if they did talk to her, they'd use this slightly patronizing tone. She felt invisible.
And the catalyst for her was seeing a photograph of herself.
The unfiltered view, free from that habituation effect we talked about. The photo showed these severely rounded shoulders, her head tilted down, her arms were subtly crossed. Her external image was just shouting, "Closed off," and "handle with care," even though her internal self was shouting, "Engage with me."
So what did she do? She couldn't magically cure her arthritis, so how did she change that external signal?
She focused on practicing purposeful posture. She started treating movement as an active, conscious choice.
So it wasn't just about physical therapy.
That was part of it, strengthening the postural muscles. But it was also about practicing conscious behaviors, pulling her shoulders back just slightly, lifting her gaze to maintain gentle eye contact, and walking with a clear destination in mind, a purposeful gait, not a shuffle.
It became an active performance of presence.
It did, and the change in how people interacted with her was instantaneous. When she projected a sense of active presence, people responded in kind. They approached her with respect, they assumed she was competent, they engaged her as a peer.
The source calls posture an identity protector.
And that's exactly what it is. It's a shield that preserves the dignity of your inner self against the visible signs of physical change. It asserts, "I am here, and I deserve your full attention."
The actionable takeaway then is to just audit your standing and walking. Ask yourself, am I walking with purpose or am I letting gravity win?
Yes, and I love the invisible string cue. Imagine a string is gently pulling the top of your head toward the ceiling. It's a phenomenal mental trick.
Posture is a practice of respect for yourself and for others.
It is.
Okay, we've reached our sixth and final point, and this is maybe the hardest truth to discuss openly. Segment 6, bad breath or body odor.
This is the ultimate silent signal. Because by the time it becomes noticeable to other people, the person experiencing it is almost always the last to know.
It's the social elephant in the room.
It is, and it has an immense social impact because it immediately dictates physical distance. If you have any issue with odor, people will automatically, unconsciously stand further away from you.
And the reason older adults rarely notice this shift is rooted in that same sensory decline we've been talking about.
Precisely. Our sense of smell, olfaction, it naturally weakens with age. It's a condition called hyposmia. And this decline means the very person who needs that internal olfactory feedback loop the most is the least equipped to perceive it. They simply cannot smell the shift in themselves.
That is just agonizing. It puts them in a socially impossible position, isolated by something they can't even detect. Let's go into the specific causes, because this isn't about a simple lack of cleanliness.
No, it's so much more complex. We have to highlight 4 main culprits. First, medications. So many common medications for older adults for blood pressure, cholesterol, anxiety. They have the side effect of causing dry mouth.
And saliva is a natural cleanser.
It's your body's mouthwash. Without it, bacteria flourish, and that leads to major breath issues.
Okay, what's the second culprit?
Slowed digestion. As your metabolism slows, digestion becomes less efficient. And odors can actually originate not just in the mouth, but deep in the digestive tract, and then manifest in your breath.
Third, and this is a surprisingly big one, is just common dehydration.
This is a huge factor. The thirst mechanism dulls significantly with age, so older adults often just don't drink enough water. And dehydration concentrates odors everywhere, in your breath, in your sweat. It also reduces saliva flow, making the dry mouth problem even worse.
And the fourth factor.
Changes in sweat composition and your skin's microbiome. They change with age, and sometimes that leads to a more distinctive or pronounced body odor that just requires different hygiene products or more frequent washing to manage.
The source shares the story of Frank, 78. He was the life of the party, a social anchor for his friends, until he noticed people creating distance.
This is that passive social cost in action. Nobody ever said a word to him. They just stopped standing close enough for him to share an intimate joke. Frank felt abandoned, but he had no idea why. He just internalized it as personal rejection.
So this required a gentle, loving intervention from someone.
Yes. Someone had to be brave enough to have that incredibly difficult conversation. And that conversation is a vital act of love and protection. For Frank, once the issue was raised, he was mortified, But he was also deeply, deeply grateful.
He finally understood the isolation he'd been feeling.
Right. And the fixes he put in place were holistic. They covered all the contributing factors.
It wasn't just brushing his teeth more often.
No, it was a complete hygiene system refresh. 1, dramatically increasing his water intake. 2, using a therapeutic mouthwash specifically for dry mouth. 3, changing his deodorant to a stronger clinical grade product. And 4, recognizing that he needed to do laundry more frequently, especially for things like sweaters and jackets that can hold odors.
And the reward for all that effort.
His confidence came right back. He could re-engage socially without that unconscious barrier of distance. People leaned in again. It restored that physical and conversational intimacy that he'd been desperately missing.
It just shows that even the hardest truths can be overcome with awareness and simple targeted routines.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that brings us to the synthesis. We've gone through all 6 signs: grooming, volume, clothing, complaining, posture, and hygiene. We've traced them back to this mix of physical changes and psychological filters. What is the fundamental hidden truth that connects them all?
If you zoom out and look at the big picture, the hidden truth is that all 6 of these behaviors stem from one common source: a loss of self-awareness of how aging is expressing itself through these small daily habits.
So it's not aging itself that's the problem.
It's not aging itself, it's the diminishing of the sensory or cognitive feedback that allows these shifts to take hold without you noticing. The person is still vibrant inside, but the external packaging has developed static that they literally cannot see or hear or smell.
So we're not telling you to try to stop aging. We're telling you to reactivate the feedback loops that help you manage the expression of aging.
Precisely. And the really powerful message here is that every single one of these issues is 100% fixable. Aging refines your presence. It doesn't have to remove it, as long as you maintain awareness and actively address these small, insidious shifts.
Throughout this deep dive, we've kept calling these identity protectors. Let's just underline why that term is so important.
Because these aren't just cosmetic tweaks. They are practical, concrete steps that preserve your dignity, your confidence, your connection to others. They are external defenses that ensure the world interacts with the vibrant, capable person you are on the inside.
Not with some generalized caricature of an older adult based on easily fixable habits.
Exactly. They are literally protecting your personal story from being hijacked by unconscious behaviors.
Okay, this has been incredibly detailed. Let's provide a structured, actionable summary, a checklist you can use immediately.
Let's do it. First, for grooming, set a recurring digital reminder every 6 weeks for those small maintenance checks: nails, eyebrows, ear, and nose hair. Defeat habituation with scheduled vigilance.
Second, for volume and interruption, make getting a comprehensive hearing check every 2 years a non-negotiable health priority. And then, practice mindful communication. Consciously pause for just an extra beat before you respond.
Third, clothing. Audit your daily uniform. Just invest in replacing 3 to 5 comfortable, ill-fitting items with modern fit alternatives. Prioritize fit and condition over trends. Make sure your clothes communicate present-day vitality.
Fourth, managing complaining and criticism. Treat curiosity as an active mental discipline. Consciously replace a critical comment with appreciation or a genuine question. At the end of the day, ask yourself, did I offer more curiosity than complaint today?
Fifth, posture and body language. Practice standing tall and walking with clear purpose. Use that invisible string cue to lift your head and open your shoulders. Treat your posture as an active expression of your dignity.
And finally, number 6, hygiene awareness. Stay vigilantly hydrated. It is so critical for breath and body health. And refresh your hygiene routines, understanding that your own sense of smell can no longer be trusted as an accurate internal monitor.
This is really such a powerful stack of knowledge, and it raises an important question for all of us, no matter our age. Are you, maybe inadvertently, prioritizing ease and comfort over the self-awareness you need to maintain strong, engaging social connections?
Because the small effort required in these 6 areas, it yields massive compounding returns in how you feel about yourself and how engaged and respected you feel by the people around you.
Absolutely.
So the final thought we want to leave you with is this: awareness is power. By understanding these subtle signs, the mechanical reasons, the neurological filters, the social costs, you gain the ability to proactively shape your own narrative. You can ensure that you are approached with respect and genuine engagement, not with pity or distance or sympathy.
So we challenge you to identify one area, just one, that resonated most strongly with you, maybe in your own habits or in how you see a loved one. And just apply curiosity and awareness to it this week. It is never too late to refine your presence and restore your vitality.
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and most importantly, stay aware.